Hi, my name is Maria, and welcome to Expecting Miracles, a space where I interview and invite leaders to share a story of a higher purpose. And I'm so happy and thrilled to have Jenifer Joyce coming here today and sharing her authentic story. I didn't know, for example, that 1 out of 4 people in the US experience or live with some sort of invisible or visible disability. So I'm so thrilled that Jenifer took a courage to be the voice for the disabled community. She also has some important lessons for us leaders in the companies to think about when we are dealing with disability and giving us some tips how to take that into consideration. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Maria, thank you so much for allowing me to share my story. It's my hope that others, especially those in leadership roles, can learn from my experience to help create an environment where miracles can be expected, that it becomes the norm instead of the exception. Here's a little bit about me. I grew up in a small town of 900 people in the middle of Illinois in the United States. I've been in the professional world for over 30 years. My family and I have lived in wonderful cities across the United States. I care about my community and global issues as well, and I'm living with brain aneurysms. Before I share my story, let's take a moment to understand what an aneurysm is. An aneurysm is a bulge in an artery where one wall weakens over time and forms a balloon. As blood courses through the artery, over time, an aneurysm can weaken and rupture. They are more common than you might expect, and women, African Americans, and Latinx people are more prone to them. Half of all ruptures are fatal, and those who do survive a rupture likely have serious, lasting neurological impacts. The most common symptom is a sudden headache. Many say it's the worst headache of my life. Symptoms can also mimic stroke, including confusion, weakness, and numbness. But aneurysms don't have to have symptoms. And like mine, that was true for me. But that was not true for my sister. This is my sister, Mary Lou. About 25 years ago, she was going through a period of intense stress in her life. When she felt a tingling along the left side of her face, she shrugged it off. But then one evening, she felt the entire side of her left body go numb, and knowing that it was not normal, she called for help. Diagnostic tests identified a brain aneurysm close to rupture. I had enough time to hop on a plane and be on hand to take care of her 6-year-old son while she had an intracranial surgery to take care of the aneurysm, what I call the cut your head open kind of surgery. This experience would be key for me as I started my own aneurysm journey. I had been experiencing a stiff neck and later a strange flutter or muscle twitch along the left side of my back in February of 2020. I booked a neurology appointment for March, but then COVID delayed the appointment until May. Also, during this time, my locally owned company was in the process of being acquired by a very large company. It was a stressful time for me and my colleagues as we prepared for change. By the time I saw a neurologist, the flutter had grown to include the left side of my face, down the left side of my neck, and down my left arm. Due to COVID, though, I saw the neurologist virtually. If you've ever seen a neurologist, you'll recall it's a really hands-on examination, checking reflexes, measuring your strength, checking your balance. This was really hard to do virtually. But because of the stiff neck and other symptoms, I was misdiagnosed with cervical dystonia, which can cause stiff neck and limited range of motion. The neurologist ordered a head and neck MRI to rule out other diagnoses. I found out the results of the MRI in early June, and I learned that I had a brain aneurysm. My husband and I only told my sister due to her experience. We didn't want to tell any of our children, our close friends, or anyone at work until we knew what we were dealing with. I saw a neurosurgeon on June 26th, just 2 days after my 24th wedding anniversary. The month of June was just excruciating, just to wade through this health experience and at the same time keeping that secret from my colleagues. And at the same time, I was meeting new people at work, but wondering in the background, what's going to happen to me? I felt like I was living a lie by not sharing more of my situation with my family and at work, and all the while wondering, am I going to need surgery? What does my future look like? The neurosurgeon that I met with ordered an angiogram so that they could better understand the characteristics of the aneurysm to make a surgical plan. While I was under light sedation, they threaded a small tube through an artery in my wrist and up into my neck, almost to my brain, then injected dye so that they could take a series of x-rays. When I was in recovery after the procedure, one of the doctors checked in on me, and I was shocked to learn that I had 4 brain aneurysms, 3 on the left side of my brain and 1 on the right side. The neurosurgeon said that it's not good practice to operate on both sides of the brain at one time. Therefore, I was going to have 2 brain surgeries. Now that I knew what I was dealing with, I began to tell my family and friends, but I was too scared to say anything at work. I was just starting to get to know my new colleagues. I wanted to put my best foot forward and show that I'm hardworking, I'm talented, I'm determined. I was too afraid for anyone to find out what was happening with my health. And keep in mind, this feeling was my own. Colleagues that I met were wonderful people, and my company was known for having an inclusive environment. No one gave me any indication otherwise. This fear was my own. I came to learn later that many people living with disability or illness in their lives also find it really difficult to disclose their illness. So this was not an uncommon situation. I officially joined my company August 1st. Being new and being a part of a really large company, though, I struggled to find information on what I needed to take a leave of absence. And it was also difficult to disclose. I had made the decision to tell my clients, and when I told the first client, she started to cry. I felt like it would take too much out of me to experience that multiple times. And so I chose to limit what was happening just to my boss and a few close friends at work. I worked hard to make myself redundant so that business would run smoothly while I was out and no one would know. And then on August 24th, I had endovascular brain surgery. In this picture, you can see my heart tattoo and a little nick just inside. Similar to what they did during the angiogram, the brain surgeon took a small tube and routed it through my artery, and this time went all the way up into my brain and into each aneurysm. And while there, they filled the aneurysm with tiny little coils, then closed it up with a stent. This keeps blood from further reaching the aneurysm and protecting it from rupture. This selfie was taken just 2 hours after the procedure. Because my surgery was done endoscopically, my recovery was much faster than more invasive intracranial surgery. I was able to keep my experience secret, and I pushed myself to get back to work much quickly, returning just 10 business days after the procedure. Later, when I began to share my story, I learned that one of the people on my team just thought I had a surgery on my knee due to my chronic running injuries. But between the 2 surgeries, something wonderful happened. I began to get to know my work colleagues better and my new company. I built trust and I felt more comfortable and confident to share my story. People were incredibly supportive. I felt like my colleagues and my company had my best interests at heart, which allowed me to focus on my health first. My second brain surgery was on October 19th. In this photo, you can see that I came prepared for the neuro ICU this time. Earplugs, and eye mask to block out the noise and the lights, and a shawl to ward off the chills. I was also more prepared to take a leave of absence from work this time around. I felt that I didn't give myself the time I needed to recover from the first surgery, and this time I took 3 full weeks away from work to allow myself to heal. Brain aneurysms still impact my life today, and it's not just me. Because my sister and I both have aneurysms, my children are also at risk. I'm also at risk for developing more aneurysms because I have so many. My mental well-being is also challenged, and I continue ongoing work to find a balance. And this experience has also brought really valuable insights to me as a leader that I likely wouldn't have had otherwise. I'd like to share 4 that stand out to me. The first is leading with empathy. 1 out of 4 in the United States and 1 billion people globally are experiencing a disability. You need to assume that your people likely have something going on in the background, whether they are experiencing disability themselves or taking care of a loved one or having other struggles in their lives. Leading with empathy is so important. So when your employees do need to take some time away or get help, make it easy for them to find resources that they need. This can make a lot of ease through a period of time when your employees are likely experiencing high stress and struggling with anxiety. Creating an inclusive environment where people can be who they are and feel comfortable sharing what is happening in their lives is also really important. It creates meaning and belonging, and we all deserve to feel that way. And last, be a role model. I mentioned that as I journeyed, I learned that I wasn't alone in struggling with disclosure. And disclosure is ultimately a really personal decision. But we need more role models in the disability community. And if you, as a leader, are experiencing something and you feel that you can step forward, please do so, and encourage others on your leadership team to do so if they feel so inclined and comfortable. If we as leaders can bring these lessons into the workplace, they can really help make miraculous culture shifts and incredible environments for employers and employees to grow and thrive.